Has superannuation failed? Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your hashtag not sponsored instant cheap coffee and let's have a look at this article which is discussing, well, the challenges retirees face who are still renting and don't own their own home. And this ties into superannuation. Now, I hope you forgive me for the new setup to the channel with me in the little corner here. You know, we've moved house and the background is still, well, a bit of a work in construction. So I thought I'd try this out. So let's have a look at this article, everyone, because, well, retiring renters are facing a disaster without intervention. Once again, this is the call for intervention. We need to help these people who, well, honestly, they're probably just doing what they're told. They're probably just following the rules, taking the steps, saving like they were meant to. But because of the rental crisis that we have in Australia, because our housing supply is nowhere near meeting the demands, rents have gone utterly insane. They've just gone nuts. The cost of renting is crazy. And, well, I would argue this is showing you that superannuation has failed. Superannuation was meant to stop these people needing to be dependent on the state. It was meant to provide a safe and comfortable retirement to our citizens. A paternalistic government took responsibility away from people and said, no, you don't need this money now. You have to save it. You have to put it in bank or union-controlled super funds where you have to kiss their ass to even get access to your own money. Now, I'm ideologically opposed to such a paternalistic stance from a government. I believe the individual should be, well, we should guide and train them with solid money management and investing skills. And maybe these people might want to choose to invest in housing to get a stable home rather than into superannuation. Maybe they want to put off super a bit later. Now, don't get me wrong, I understand and appreciate all the tax incentives of investing in super. But fundamentally, that's all artificial. That's just playing the game. I'm making the argument, should the state enforce paternalistic saving behavior on a population when we're seeing that this is causing a disaster in people struggling to live comfortably in retirement? If you retire with less super in a home, you're going to be better off. You've got stability. You've got certainty. You've got an asset that's appreciating in value. Now, I know there are plenty of people waiting for a crash in housing here in Australia, but guys, it's pretty much government-backed. So, Australian renters need roughly twice as much superannuation as homeowners to retire comfortably and face a crisis without more government help. So, there you go. There you go. This whole scheme that was set up, think about it. For those of you that have had to delay buying into a house, how much earlier could you have got into if you could have borrowed against your super? How many of you had a deposit sitting there? Renters were at risk of a retirement disaster without government intervention, Super Consumers Australia boss Xavier O'Halloran said. Now, this rhetoric is going to ensure that any calls to reduce migration to Australia will have stiff opposition. You've got a whole industry that is primed to ensure, pensions still get paid, government employees still get employed, services still get provided. Now, you may not agree with these services, but you're going to be taxed for them. Telling renters to simply save more isn't the solution to this problem, he said. Renters are at real risk of retirement disaster if the government doesn't act. How are they going to act? It's kind of too late. The only thing that they're going to have to do is increase rent assistance for pensioners. That is really the only thing they can do. They're not going to be able to increase supply of housing in time. Building takes time. Every year, our construction industry is getting more complicated because we're adding more legislation to it. Now, I would make the argument that we scale back some of the requirements we have. Not quality, but we've got onerous energy requirements. We've got onerous sustainability requirements. We've got accessibility requirements, which sound good. And I understand why people are lobbying for these things, but you have to understand, every imposition you put on a simple house is driving up the costs of builds, so people are just ignoring all the rules and going to tiny houses, which are glorified caravans. You can't age in place in one of those things. The organisation's 2026 retirement saving targets for renters report published on Tuesday, found more than 325,000 age pensioners were receiving Commonwealth rent assistance in 2025. Almost 1 in 3 of those were still in rental stress, spending more than a third of their income on rent after rental assistance had been paid. A typical single renting retiree would need $659,000 in super compared to $322,000 for a retiree who owned their own home, according to the report, which is based on the ABS spending data. Here you go. This right here. I've said it many times again. I think it's common sense. This is why I supported the coalition's proposal to allow people to borrow from their super to buy a home. And I know everyone says housing will just go more expensive. Supply is never going to meet demand in Australia in our lifetime. I'll bet a carton on that one, mate. Not a good carton. Or then I went to the bottle the other day. Shit, it's getting... You know, they got 4-packs now? Because 6-pack... That's shrinkflation. Anyway. You need to get people in homes. People need to have that stability. Couples needed $786,000 combined compared to $432,000. While long-term solutions centered on getting more people into affordable housing, renting retirees need help now. We've got a crisis facing retirees right now. Rent assistance isn't keeping up with actual rents. Yeah, this is the only thing they can do is increase rent assistance. So does that defeat the whole purpose of implementing this super scheme, locking people's money up so that we're just going to have to up the pension anyway? Super Consumers Australia wants the federal government to address rental assistance as a matter of urgency. Every day this isn't addressed, renters face an impossible financial challenge in retirement. Okay, fine. That's done. This generation are screwed. The next one, we need to get them owning houses quicker. We need to get them using their money that they worked for under their control. I would argue we need to make the whole system voluntary. But then again, I would also have the radical argument of making pay-as-you-go on the responsibility of the worker. But yeah, that's going to be a disaster. Spending Consumers Australia has called on superannuation funds to provide better tools for members to understand their retirement savings and targets. Wealth manager AMP on Tuesday released a platform for users to measure their super's performance. Yada. Okay, who cares? I mean, whoop-de-doo, another app you can see you don't have anywhere near enough money because the rental market has shot right up. I mean, you could have all these apps make all these predictions, make all these assumptions, and they go all completely out the window because in the last decade our population growth has skyrocketed. The demand for people to come to Australia is not going to end. Okay, Australia is a pretty bloody awesome country for all the fact that we bitch and moan about it. I mean, you can't even... They want to ban VPNs now. We don't really have free speech now. It still isn't that bad. There's a lot worse places out there. Housing costs a shitload, but if you look at it in US dollars, it ain't that much. Some funds have spent a lot of money marketing themselves as top performers, which is no longer... I mean, here's the thing. What if rather than jumping through all the hoops with superannuation, you just put it in an exchange-traded fund? That maybe what we do is we download the list of companies and organizations that these funds buy into, and you just make an ETF that tracks that without all the other bullshit and reporting and stupid magazines and propaganda publications owned by the super funds. But no, you've got boards and you've got people that are invested in maintaining the status quo. That's a political battle. I mean, could you imagine if Australia changed the super industry? The tools allow users to compare funds. Okay, there we go. Transparency drives competition. Well, there's not really. Let's chat about this one, eh? So there's the call for having greater transparency and greater competition here. That's not going to solve the problem here. Okay, right now you've got a whole generation of people that are going to need additional government support because, frankly, their superannuation isn't enough. And I would make an argument that being forced to save a decent portion of their pay for most of their lives has locked them out of the housing market or delayed their entry to the housing market. How many people buy a house or pay off a house when they retire? Anyway, guys, let me know your opinions on this one. Thanks for watching. Sorry for the delay in videos, but the last month has just been, frankly, a nightmare. Moving house, huge projects on, flat out busy. It's just been crazy. Take care. Have a great day. See you next time.